Hello! Welcome to Goodreads. I'm Sara Spiker. Last week we talked about a book called The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This week we're going to be talking about a book called The Wednesday Wars by Gary D. Schmidt. This book is a historical fiction book, and it's also funny in a way. And this book takes place around the 60s, so during Vietnam. And it's about a kid named Holling. His family's Presbyterian. And there's not a lot of Presbyterians where he lives because at his school on Wednesdays, all the kids go to either Hebrew or a Catholic church. And so Holling has to stay with a teacher named Mrs. Baker, who Holling says hates his guts. But the bad thing is that Holling's father is an architect, and Mrs. Baker's family is looking for an architect to help make one of their buildings. So Holling's father is making sure that Holling stays on his best behavior around Mrs. Baker. I have some quotes I like to share that make this book significant. Here's the first one. At the happy ending of The Tempest, Prospero brings the king back together with his son, and finds Miranda's true love, and punishes the bad duke, and frees Ariel, and becomes the duke himself. Everyone except for Caliban is happy, and everyone is forgiven, and everything is fine. And they all sail away on a calm sea. Happy endings. That's how it is in Shakespeare. But Shakespeare is wrong. Sometimes there isn't a Prospero to make everything fine again, and sometimes the quality of mercy is strained. I like this quote because I agree with it. They make everything in movies and in books kind of a different world, where everything always works out and everything is fine. Yes, it can happen in real life. It doesn't always happen. We do experience some difficulties, and we do have some trials in life. And this book really shows it, because Holling's life isn't always easy. Mrs. Baker makes him read a bunch of Shakespeare plays, and she's really hard on him. But throughout the book, Holling starts to get Mrs. Baker more. They start to like each other and really kind of connect with each other because they're both similar. They both almost think the same way. And so that's one quote that I enjoyed. There's another one that's pretty funny. I ran up desperately, lugging the box of 30 erasers, 23 of which had sent their chalk dust towards Mrs. Baker's windows. But I was too late. The cloud of chalk dust had drifted in, and then gravity had taken over. The chalk had fallen gently upon each one of the cream puffs. It looked like Mrs. Biagio had spread an extra thick layer of cream powdered sugar on top. And this one is funny. It's a very interesting situation that I'm glad never happened to me, but Holly has to pick up cream puffs from basically the chef of the school for a after-school Vietnam War wives kind of club. And so he also has to pound out the erasers. But the windows are open, so the chalk comes with the wind and lands on the cream puffs. So, it'd be awful to be those Vietnam wives if I were them. You're probably thinking right now, I don't want to read this book. It sounds boring. But really, it's a great book. It's a coming-of-age book, and I know that we are older, so not really the best book. But it's a moving story. You know, it's about Holling. He really finds himself. He changes throughout the book, and he makes some mistakes, and he has some challenges. But in the end, it's good. You know, life is good for him. And I really enjoy that. I like a book to have a happy ending. I do. And this book has a lot of Shakespeare in it. A lot. And, I don't know, kind of makes me want to read Shakespeare now. But I'll have to see about that later. But, I would say give it a shot. When I first looked at this book, I didn't think it'd be good at all. I just figured, might as well get it over with and read it. But I really enjoyed it. Gary Schmidt really writes an entertaining story. You can kind of, relate to Holling. Sometimes my family can be crazy. Well, actually, not sometimes. My family is crazy. They're insane every day. Just like the family in the book. But what can you do? We're stuck with them, so you might as well enjoy them. And Holling has a very interesting 7th grade year. But it's funny. And please think about reading it. I think you would really enjoy it. And that's about time is done with this episode. And so next week we will be talking about Tunnels, which is a very good book. So stay tuned for next week. I'm Sara Spiker. Peace.